Hi, I'm back for my weekly update, and I want to talk about what a discharge petition is. If you've watched the news at all this week, you know that we voted to release the Epstein files. It's been a long saga, but what a lot of people have asked me about is why this was such a difficult decision. I am in favor of transparency and accountability. I've always said the files should be released, but the reason the mechanics of it were so difficult in the House is because we were dealing with a discharge petition. Normally, a bill goes to a committee, it has to get marked up in the committee. That gives members of Congress from both sides of the aisle a chance to amend and improve and sort of hammer it out into a better product. And once it gets marked up in a committee and passed out of the committee by the majority of the committee members, then it goes to leadership to decide when it goes on the floor. Sometimes there's a bill or an idea that for whatever reason, a committee chair doesn't like or a member of leadership doesn't like, and it can't move. And in those cases, we have something called a discharge petition, where a member or a handful of members can write basically a bill in the form of a petition and go gather signatures on it. If it gets to a majority of signatures, then it bypasses all of that and goes straight to the floor in a certain amount of time. I think it's a week. So it's something that's normally tried by minority parties. When they have an idea they think they can peel some of the majority off, they'll do a discharge petition to try to force it to go to the floor despite leadership's protests or the fact that they don't want it there. Part of the reason this one was so difficult is because it was a discharge petition written by a member of the majority party, which is really unusual, and it caused a lot of consternation in the party. It was also written in a way that it released things without necessarily protecting victims or whistleblowers or people whose names may have been mentioned but they're not accused of committing a crime. So while we were going through the whole process of dealing with the discharge petition, the House Oversight Committee was holding hearings using their subpoena power and getting their hands on a lot of the documents and releasing them. So a lot of the things you've seen, some of the really interesting parts of the Epstein files haven't actually come from the discharge petition. They came from the Epstein estate, which the discharge petition doesn't have any authority over, but the subpoena power of the committee allowed them to get their hands on a lot of the documents that you're now seeing in the news. So the way it stands right now is that the discharge petition passed almost unanimously in the House, I think unanimously in the Senate. Everything's being released, but a lot of it was released by the committees that have the authority to go after things. And it gets confusing when you're watching the headlines, so I wanted to help make sure everyone understands what a discharge petition is and why we're all talking about it right now. And I'll be back next week after Thanksgiving with another update.